It's author Rebecca Hefner here, and today we are chatting with audiobook narrator Jillian Yetter. Welcome to the Indie Audiobook Still channel.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, I see you're in your booth there, and we're all excited to hear about your audiobooks and your path narrating and everything. So I can't wait. So I'm
Yes,
just going to
no,
ask you.
welcome to my booth.
Yes, that's so exciting. Is that in your home?
Yes, it is. Yes, my husband built this studio for me. I know.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. It gives you a lot of flexibility, I'm sure, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, great. So I'm just going to ask you a couple questions so we can find out some more about you. So I'm just going to start with tell me how long you've been a narrator, what genres you narrate, and how many books you've narrated.
Okay. So I have been an audiobook narrator for 4.5 years now. I mainly narrate young adult. That's been my passion this whole time. But I've recently gotten really into romance. I do a lot of rom-coms. I'm getting into some darker stuff recently. And I am getting ready to record my 100th book. So
Wow.
I'll have 100 books coming next month.
That's a big milestone.
Thank you. Yes, I'm so excited. I never thought I'd be at this point. That was not my expectation when I started this career. I didn't even expect it to be a career. So just the way that it's happened has been amazing.
So how did you get started in narrating? Tell me a little bit about that.
So I was a high school English teacher for 10 years, and it was my passion. It was everything I wanted to do in this world, and I thought I was going to do it until I retired and just spend my whole life doing it. But then in 2018, I had a really bad flare up of my chronic illness, and I ended up having to leave on disability permanently from the classroom, which was really unfortunate. So I wanted a way to connect with literature. So I was in an Ulta parking lot crying and Google searching what to do after leaving a job as an English teacher. And an audiobook narrator position for on acx.com popped up. So I tried my hand. I recorded something on my phone memo notes. I recorded my first audition, got the book, didn't know what I was in for at all because it was way more complicated than I thought. So I, took 3 or so months to do that first book, and then slowly just kept moving forward with it until it became my career.
Wow, that's great. What a cool way to build a career and that you recorded it on your phone. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was terrible. The first book was such a great first book too, but it was definitely a learning curve with that experience.
Yeah, that's what happens, right? We as authors and as narrators, it's sort of I always tell people like I love my first book and I will always love it, but it's definitely never going to be the best book I ever wrote. Although I love it so much because you become a better writer, and I'm sure as a narrator you become a better narrator over time, right?
Yes.
So
Yes, and I didn't have any performance experience. I always say my performance experience is keeping 30, 16-year-olds engaged in a book. That was the extent of I've never done theater, I've never done acting classes. So since then I've taken, performance classes, worked with narration coaches, and did 100 books. So my experience definitely has shifted quite a bit since then.
yeah, that's amazing. And so you're a full-time narrator now.
Yes, I am. And actually, I just transitioned fully full time this month. For the first time in 4.5 years, this month was my first month. I overdid it a little bit, but I'm learning my new schedule. So, yep.
Got it. It's hard to juggle everything, right? It's yeah. It's never easy to do that. So, but
It
that's
is.
great that you've to hear
Yeah.
about your journey, and I'm sure this will help other aspiring narrators who, want to start on the same path. So that's really great to hear.
Yeah, thank you. And I always recommend for anyone who's looking into to get into audiobook narration. I don't recommend the path that I took, which was very slow. But there is a website called narratorsroadmap.com that has so much information on how to get started as a narrator. So I always recommend that to people. It's a great website
Awesome.
by Karen Commons.
Okay, great. That is, yes, that's awesome to hear. And I think we have that. So this group, Indie Audiobook Deals, is an offshoot of the Marketing Audiobooks Wide group on
Okay.
Facebook. And I think she has that website pinned in the file section of our group. So if you're watching this and you're an author or a narrator in the group, go to the file section and you can find that as well. That's great to know that someone has kind of set out a roadmap to help narrators on their path.
Yes, there's so many amazing resources on that website. It's just like an all-in-one package deal for that.
Awesome. Okay, that's great. Good advice. Awesome. All right, so you said you do YA. Do you do any other genres? And what about YA or any of the other genres you narrate calls to you?
So, as a former high school teacher, I love coming of age stories. I love adolescent audiences. I love people growing into themselves and becoming the person they're going to be. I absolutely, that's my calling. That's my age group that I love to work with, that I love to connect with. So I just always really felt pulled in that direction with my narration to continue reaching that audience because that's where my passion lies. That's I want them to love books. I want them to care about books. I want them to be immersed in literature. And audiobooks are they're so accessible. And so they just bring in a whole new market of readers. And I want that part of that market to be teenagers. So that's really where I just love that age group. I just want to be a part of it. And I'm a sucker for, coming of age and growing into one's own. I just love that.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. That definitely makes sense. And you get to sort of still stay in that world just by doing something a little different, which is great.
Yes. Yes, and I do sound quite young, so it's not that far-fetched for me to play a
Not a
16-year-old, even though
stretch.
I'm not 16 by any means.
Right. It's like yeah, you already kind of have that ingrained in your voice, which
Yes.
is good.
Yes,
Nice.
but I do other genres. Like I've done quite a bit of fantasy. There was a little while that I was getting hired to do these like hardcore sci-fi apocalyptic books where I put my voice down here and I was an FBI agent.
Ah,
And it was just a really cool experience because it explored a different part of my voice that I don't usually use with
yeah.
YA. So that
How
was pretty fun.
fun.
Yes.
Yeah. It's almost like you get to become it's like as authors, we kind of live through our characters in our head, but you really get to voice different characters and kind of become that person, which is exciting.
Yes, and I have a bank of so many characters I get to do, especially when I do fantasy books. There's so many characters and I get to play them all, which is really fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Nice. Okay, so so on that note, tell us a little bit about the maybe one of your favorite characters that you've ever narrated in your career. Someone that sticks
Okay.
out.
All right. So my favorite book to narrate and my favorite characters, it was a book called One by Sarah Crossan. It is written entirely in verse, and it's about conjoined twins, Grace and Tippy, who go to a regular high school for the first time. And their experience. And it's so beautifully written, and I sobbed in between recording the whole thing because it's just so well done. And I'm nervous because I actually don't think it's available in the US. I think it's only available in the UK. I don't know, but if you're able to search it, it is a beautiful, beautiful book. And as far as coming of age goes, playing those two characters and I did both perspectives and just the way that they viewed the world and the way the world viewed them just absolutely beautiful as they grow as characters throughout that book. I loved it so
That
much.
sounds amazing. And tell me the name of the book again.
It's called One by Sarah Crossan.
Okay, so everybody listening can look for that, and yeah, hopefully, they can find it on the interwebs. And it sounds like
I hope so. It
yeah,
doesn't
it sounds
have
like
any reviews yet, but it's my favorite. I would listen to it over and over again.
nice. It sounds like something you can really put your heart and soul that you really put your heart and soul into
Yes,
while narrating.
yes,
Yeah,
I
I mean, what an
do.
interesting story. So, um, that's amazing. Okay, so tell us which audiobook, if we just go look up Jillian Yetter on Audible or on Kobo Plus or wherever we listen to Hoopla, wherever we listen to books, what is the one book that you would recommend starting with in your entire narration catalog?
Okay, I narrowed this down to 3, but I will try to so I have 3 that I'm really recommending right now. But if it had to be absolutely one, there is this young adult dystopian book that I just completed, book 3 of the series. It's called The Diseased Ones by Danielle Harrington,
Okay.
and it is very, very cool. It's very much reminiscent of when, books like The Hunger Games or Divergent were coming out, and we don't see so much of that anymore.
True.
And the author saw a gap in that market, and she said, I feel like there's people who still want to read these stories. And she's right. And the way that it's written, it's very much X-Men meets Divergent. It's a girl lives in this society that is entirely stoic and emotionless, and there's a test on your birthday to see if you have the marker to be a diseased one,
Oh.
which we later find out is a group of people with superpowers. So our protagonist, Hollis, she fails the test.
Oh.
And then this is her journey as she learns about how to work with her powers and exist in a new society other than this stoic society she was raised in.
Wow, that sounds awesome. I
It's
love
really
all that
cool.
stuff, superheroes and sci-fi and dystopian. That sounds amazing. And what's the name of that book again?
The Diseased Ones by Danielle Harrington.
Okay, awesome. Now we know where to start with your catalog. And tell us, where can we find you? Do you have a website? Are you on social media? Tell us where we can find you.
Yes, I have a website. It's just jillianyetter.com. So you can find me there. You can listen to my samples, get in contact with me if you want to work together. I also work for a company called Pink Flamingo Productions, doing sales for them. So if anybody, doesn't want to work with me as a narrator, but would like to work with me in some capacity, I can help walk you through audiobook production. We do casting and marketing and all of that. We take it from the start to finish. I also am very active on TikTok, where I do a lot of live readings of audiobooks. Actually, the Diseased One series, books 1, 2, and 3, I recorded the whole thing live with the author as the director. So that was a really cool
Ooh, that
experience.
is really
So,
cool.
yes, so all 3 books were recorded live with the author as the director. I don't do that regularly, but I
Yeah.
do record on live, so that's on there, and then I'm on Instagram as well, and you can just search me on any of these under my own name, Jillian Yetter.
And you are open if authors want to reach out and inquire about you narrating their books.
Yes, I am. Yes, I love doing indie productions just as much as I do publisher work. I'm split pretty 50 right now between the two. So I absolutely love my indie work because I get to work directly with the authors, and that just is amazing.
Awesome. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us and for coming on the Indie Audiobook Deals channel. It was awesome to have you. Thank you for watching and happy listening.
Thank you so much. Bye.